I want to welcome everybody here. This is a really good time to turn your phones off to respect our speakers. And believe it or not, you're in the best area in all counties. You have the best speaker, so help me welcome Jeff.
All right. How's everybody doing? Good. My name's Jeff Deck. I'm an alcoholic. And just gave a second check to see if my sponsor was walking through the door. He makes me nervous. He's not here, so I feel nice and calm. In the 12 and 12, step 10, there's about 3.5 pages. In the big book, there's about 1.5 pages, 2 pages. Joe and Charlie, they talk about it for 12 minutes. So basically, what do we know about step 10 is in between 9 and 11. Let's end the meeting, right? I mean, really. And look, it was a long drive from Jacksonville. I had to pee really bad because obviously I had a cup of coffee and I'm halfway done with a Monster. So yeah, I talk fast and I'm going to talk even faster sometimes tonight. And there was a line for the men's room, but that girl room was open. So I ran in that girl room. I peed. I washed my hands. I left and I'm sitting here and I was like, damn, I didn't put the seat down. So I'm sorry. What a perfect night for that to happen. Step 10. And I'm being serious. Like, if I didn't come up here and admit that to you guys, it would have stuck with me tonight. It would have stuck with me. I would have been waiting all week to come back to apologize to everybody. That's how my disease works. It really, really does. And I'm going to start off with something that just happened to me last night, and I'm going to end the story and then probably get back to it a little bit later, how step 10 is involved, if that's okay. If you haven't been here, okay, I'm the executive director of the Java Club. Okay, it's the largest Alcoholics Anonymous facility in Jacksonville, Florida. Like I said earlier, it's 4,000 square feet. We've got 2 halfway houses there with about 14 guys that I'm responsible for. There's a trailer for meetings. There's a big room for meetings. The property is huge. We got community service sent there. And I have to have an assistant manager because I can't be there all the time. I need somebody that's the eyes and ears for me at nighttime to let me know that these guys are in by curfew, that they look okay, they're not drinking and drugging, whatever. So when I started there on August 14th of 2017, there was a gentleman there who was the assistant manager for a couple of months, and he was doing great. He's been the best assistant manager I've had since, and I've had about 6 in the past 15 months, 16 months. And he picked up a year sobriety. His sponsor moved up north. He followed his sponsor up north. And he moved about 50 miles away from his sponsor in I don't know, what do they call that, West Bubble something. And there was no meetings out there, and everybody lost contact with him. And about 2 months ago, he got in contact with me. He said he was drinking. We welcomed him back with open arms because he did so well here. And it just so happens, our assistant manager at the time left. He knew the place. We had a bunch of guys in there who were kind of new to recovery, so we made him assistant manager again. And it winds up his dad passed away about 6 months ago. So he was coming into an inheritance, and he had a brother, and he had a lawyer. And he picked up right where he left off with sobriety, working the steps, great sponsor, really, really energetic about doing things, helping out around the club, service work. And in the meantime, he's going about his day trying to see what he has to do to get money because there's a sister who's against it, but there's a brother who's kind of against it and not. He came into his inheritance about a week and a half ago. Let's just say it was somewhere between $30,000 and $50,000 marker. Okay? And then let's just say he took off from the place and said, he made up an excuse why he had to leave, and nobody's really heard from him since, except for one guy. So last night, I had my son this week, and last night, one of the guys in the house is banging on my door. My son is sleeping. So I'm like, what's going on? There's 3 cop cars outside my house. And I thank the guy that, I had him come in and sit with my son. And the cops are looking for this assistant manager. Okay, they're looking for him. And they want to know what kind of information I have. Now, I know this is life or death, and I know the way that this guy goes about his drinking and drugging. He's going to die if we don't find him. Okay, so I sent him, I showed the cops the last text message I have of him, and then there was another gentleman who used to live there that this assistant manager was in contact with, and that gentleman contacted me worried about him. So he had information of where this guy was, so I showed the cops this. And they're not telling me why they're trying to find him, and I'm just imagining the worst. So they said, thank you. I went inside. My son was still sleeping. 20 minutes later, bang, 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 bang. It's the cops again. So now I'm starting to get a little heated. I'm saying to myself, I told these guys that my son is sleeping. You know, I even mentioned that my second ex-wife was JSO and dropped her name to them. No, they're banging on the door. I said, hey, well, we're really sorry. We're sorry. So last time, we're sorry. They're saying, can you maybe screenshot those emails and send them to my email, one of the sheriffs said. I said, sure. So I did that, and they're like, okay, that was the last time. I'm sorry. Cool, man. Have a great night. Be safe out there. I come inside 20 minutes later, and now it's close to 11. Bang, 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 bang. Woo! Let's just say, I kind of have an issue with cops anyway. The wheels are spinning. Wheels are spinning. I'm resenting my ex-wife, and then she ain't even at the door. I open the door, and now they got pictures of these two guys. So I show them the pictures of they show me the pictures of these two guys, and I identify them. It's them. We're sorry again. That's the last time. So I close the door. So I say, you know what? I've recently made amends with my second ex-wife. We're co-parenting great. I give her a call. And I give her a call for two reasons. Number one, maybe she knows what's going on. She give me some inside information, the joy of, having amends with a JSO officer. And number two, to let her know, listen, my son woke up the third time that they were knocking. And I have to get him up at 5:15 in the morning, get him situated to get him to school. So I'm going to keep him home. I'm going to let him sleep in the morning. I wanted to let her know. Okay? So I get in touch with her, and she goes, wait a second. Why are they there? So she looks up everything on the computer for me. Apparently, this guy who used to be assistant manager, the brother, this is the story we got, filed a missing report because of all the money that he just inherited and he's really worried about. Now, we think it's something else as well. But she goes, hold on a second. I know one of these cops. He's a rookie. I'm going to call and give it to him right now. Yeah. Apparently, she did because they never showed up again. Okay, so that was all great news. And I'm telling you guys that story, and I'll say it now instead of waiting for later. It was the perfect opportunity for me to work step 10 last night. It was the perfect opportunity because I didn't have to put myself in a position to say when I was wrong and have to make an apology. I didn't have to put myself in the position that I would have put myself in probably about 5-6 months ago or a couple of years ago. Believe me, I would have started an argument with those cops. Remember what I said last week? I had an argument with a PO on the phone. Oh yeah, I'm waiting to apologize to that PO now. Yeah, he came after me. Well, you need to do it this way when he called me, and I told you guys I had a board member with me. I was like, you don't tell me my job. I'm not on the run no more. My record's clean. Don't tell me how to do things here. This is how we did it for 15 years. If you don't like it, don't send you guys here. Why are you yelling at me? I could talk louder than you. Well, I'm going to put you on the phone with my supervisor. He tells me, I don't need anything from you. Why do I need your supervisor? Hang up on the guy. That was a wrong way to handle that situation. So now I got to go back because AA has brainwashed me in a good way. It's a Jedi mind trick, I'm telling you. I got to go back, or either make that call or wait for him to call me. I'm waiting for my sponsor to dictate that. And I'm going to follow my sponsor's directions on that. Last night, it could have been bad. And it could have been bad, not only because it would have hindered my sobriety right there, but my position is the executive director. I run that place. I want the cops on my side right now. I want the cops on my side. Not only because every time we have to ask a halfway house guy to leave, it's my fault. But why not have the cops on my side? Why not? So that was handled the right way last night. And it feels good. But obviously you guys have heard my stories over the weeks. I've done things the wrong way too. But what I want to start off with is obviously step 10. I have a couple of things written down here. Again, there's not much in the literature, so you're going to hear a couple of experiences again. And what I think about it is continue to take personal inventory when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. And there's principles behind all the steps, and the principle is perseverance. Now, kind of know what perseverance is. I think of it relatively as, okay, I'm either perspiring because I'm sweating, or like, okay, I'm running because I'm a jock, But guess what? It doesn't mean any of that, especially when I looked it up in the dictionary. And this is the exact definition of perseverance. It's defined as the continued effort to do or achieve something despite difficulties, failure, or opposition. That's a key word there, the opposition. Because you know what? There's always somebody who's against me, right? I've always got some kind of enemy. It's the action or condition of an instance, a steadfast approach. Just admit it, you don't know what steadfast means. Neither do I. So, of course, I went to Merriam-Webster, and steadfast has 3 different definitions. The definition I liked said that it's the firm belief and dedication in something. Firm belief and dedication in something. Here are some of the synonyms of steadfast. It includes constant, dedicated, devoted, and faithful. So, that kind of helps me out with the principle behind step 10. In other words, this is not just a one-time deal right here for step 10. This is going to be a lifetime thing, a daily thing. We're going to get into that part of the big book where it talks about daily. So, I also mentioned last week when I was doing 8 and 9 that in steps 1, 2, 3, we're trying to get right with God, right? In steps 4 through 7, we're trying to get right with ourselves. And in steps 8 and 9, we're trying to get right with others. Okay? And then we hear about, you hear in the rooms, I know we all have, step 10, that's where we start that maintenance step. That maintenance steps. Maintaining my sobriety will get me in trouble, and I'll die if I maintain my sobriety. Joe and Charlie talking about, it's not about maintaining, it's about growing. It's about constant growth. And step 10, there's always room to grow. There's always room to keep dedicated, to keep devoted, to keep becoming teachable. Okay, so we don't have to go back. So I don't make that mistake, last night, and today I'm just waiting to hear from those officers, or maybe this PO is not going to send me any more community service. Yeah, even though there's a bunch of other POs, POs pissed off. That's pretty funny. I'm sorry, but whatever. And if we go to the big book on page 84. That's where step 10 starts. And like I said, there's only a couple of pages in it. So I wanted to read this paragraph here. Remember, at the end of step 9 in the book, it talks about they will always materialize if we work for them, the promises. It's leading us into that constant work. Those promises won't work if we don't continue working. Okay? They're not going to work if I don't continue working 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The promises, this book is so carefully and thought out and well written. The last sentence in the 9th step promises, they will always materialize if we work for them. We have to continue working. And then it goes into step 10. This thought brings us to step 10, which suggests we can continue to take personal inventory and to set right any new mistakes as we go along. We vigorously commence this way of living as we cleaned up the past. We have entered the world of the Spirit. We're at step 10. We're supposed to be entering the world of the Spirit. We're supposed to be having a spiritual awakening. Yet, because remember, in step 12, it says, after having a spiritual awakening, having had one. This is the beginning of it. This is it. We've made right with our God. We should have God in our life. We've made life right with our past. We should be good with our past. We've made right and have a plan set in place with our sponsor of how to make right with others. So now what's going on in step 10 is, I don't want to make any more wrongs with others because I don't want to go back and do any of this. But the tricky part is, I have to go back and do all of this so I don't have this problem with others anymore in my life. So I don't push God away. So I don't go into my self-will anymore. So I don't have to look at myself every single day and fall into the self-trap of self-will, and the fear comes back, and the selfishness and the self-seeking and the dishonesty and the inconsideration. And that's where I lose contact with that spirit that is talking about, And in page 45, real quick, it tells you what this whole program is about. It tells you what the book is about. It says, lack of power, that was our dilemma. We had to find a power by which we could live. And it had to be, squiggly writing, italicized letters, a power greater than ourselves. And Grateful Mike back at Java Club, he's 30 years sober, man. He says it's the most powerful line in the big book. And it's only one word. Obviously. Obviously. Like, they should put the words in like semicolons. Obviously. Are you stupid? Do you hear me? That's what I read when I see it. But where and how are we going to find this power? Remember, this is all the way back in We Agnostics. And now we're all the way into action, and we're on step 10. So at this point, we should be on step 10. At this point, we should be, like I said, with 1 through 9. Okay, so if we think back to what it said, well, that's exactly what this book is about. Its main object is to enable you to find a power greater than yourself which will solve your problem. My problem was always me. Now I know what my problems are because I've gone through the moral inventory of myself. I've figured out with my sponsor the nature of my wrongs. I've labeled my character defects, my shortcomings, all those words that mean the same exact thing. I told you guys what the whole Bill W. thing was. Why did you change all the words? And it's because he went to school and he went to writing class, and the English teacher said, you shouldn't use the same word over and over. So he just said defects, shortcomings, wrongs. It's all the same thing. So let's go back now to step 10. And we'll pick off right where we left off. The way of living as we cleaned up the past, we have entered the world of the Spirit. Our next function is to grow in understanding and effectiveness. There's that key word, to grow. We're not trying to maintain this thing. It's got to be constant growth, okay? This is not an overnight matter. Again, it's telling us it doesn't just happen as far as we got it, we're good, whatever. You know? It should continue for our lifetime. And here's the cool part. Continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. What does that sound like? That's step 4, right? Mm-hmm. When these crop up, we ask God at once to remove them. Step 6 and 7. We discuss them with somebody immediately. Step 5. And we make amends quickly if we have harmed anyone. 8 and 9. Right on the next page. No, I'm sorry. The directions, the directions say that. If we have followed these directions, we have begun to sense the flow of His Spirit into us. So, step 10 is giving us the directions of how we should continue to not hurt anybody anymore. And if I'm hurting people, I'm hurting myself, because I'm going to fall back into it. And I don't know about you, I hate apologizing to people. Yeah. Hate it. And it's that whole brainwashing, that Jedi mind trick. I know if I do something wrong to somebody and I don't apologize immediately, that my sponsor is going to go over it with me and it's going to be pointed out, and oh God, I feel like a Jack, you know why. You know, and it's just not a way to live for me no more. And you guys have heard many parts of my story, and unfortunately I suffered through it. I suffered through that pain a lot. So then it says, we resolutely turn our thoughts to someone we can help. Love and tolerance of others is our code. You know, and here's some examples of it. You guys heard, again, about the second ex-wife, the JSO officer. Todd would know because he was around then. This happened in the summer of 2015, and I handled it so wrong. You know, you guys have been on this journey here with me. You know, I admitted step 1, I skipped over 2 and 3. I finally did steps 4 and 5. I skipped over 6 and 7. I had that list with 8 and 9, which I was doing. I skipped over 10, kind of skipped over 11, and I was really working step 12, and that kept me sober until this happened in the middle of 2015 with the ex-wife. And I finally got back. I finally figured out what 2 and 3 really meant. I did another step 4 and really got on my knees for step 3 and felt that power and that faith. And I really went home and kind of did step 6 and 7, not all the way, but I did give it an attempt. And then 8 and 9 was kept. And then about 6 months ago, I did 9 with the second ex-wife. And co-parenting is great. But for 2.5 years, 3 years, I still suffered. I still had these thoughts. I still had these thoughts of betrayal. It's her fault. I'm still thinking about it. And now I'm praying for her and all this. And, even though he didn't, and maybe he did. Maybe he did. The one who's suffering in all of this is who? It's my son, right? It's my son. Because there was things where she would ask me, can she keep him an extra day? And I was like, no, you can't. I really have plans to do something with him when maybe I didn't have any plans. That's taken place. She could have, I could have asked her for something. She said, no, I had plans. So I don't know if she did or not, but you see, there's suffering there of somebody else. And this is all my fault. This is all my fault because I'm not responsible for her. So for years I hung on to this whole, what I thought was betrayal. When it comes down to the fact that, I was a bad husband to her. She didn't know what I was when I moved here in 2010. And I was terrible to her until I stopped drinking. And then for the first 1.5 years before this all went down, I was not a great husband to her inside the house. But that didn't matter. And what was one of the main character defects there when this happened? I wanted to let every single person know what she did. I broke into her email. I broke into her Facebook. I called the internal affairs. I went down to the internal affairs downtown Jacksonville. I shared about her with name. Told everybody. I called the news on her, man. How is that a responsible, sober person in Alcoholics Anonymous? How is that looking at my role? How is that 10-step axiom? How is that? You remember what I shared about how I walked up into Java Club when this was going down, I raised my hand at the beginning of a busy Sunday 11 a.m. meeting. I said, if somebody talks to me about that 10-step axiom, I'm going to burn down the Java Club. And I went off, and my now sponsor raised his hand. He said, number one, don't burn down Java Club. Number two, go help others. This is how angry I was. I didn't need to be that angry if I was honestly working step 10 at that time. I just read the directions for it. Okay, so that pops up. The way I should have handled it was immediately get with my sponsor. Go over the columns. Kathleen in 1, why in column 2, what it's affecting, and what is my role. Could you imagine if I did that? Years of suffering I did not have to go through. Thank God I didn't take a drink or a drug. I may not have liked what the sponsor said, but that amends letter would have been written way earlier than it was. And I would have been able to talk to her way earlier than I did because fear was blocking everything. Sober softball, I told you guys about that. Okay? Could you imagine if I didn't overreact? If I would have showed some self-restraint? If I would have just let God work and not try to run the show? If I would have called my sponsor again and went over with him what was going on and why it was affecting me. I'm not in charge of anybody else. Again, made a decision to turn our will and our life over to the care of God as we understood him. My sponsor says, Jeff, what decision is it that you're making a decision to turn your will and your life over to the care of so-and-so or so-and-so? All it's doing is messing with my serenity. All it's doing is hindering my sobriety. So if I'm properly working step 10 and I'm going through those columns, whether it be in my head real quick or preferably with a sponsor because my head's messed up. It's going to be pointed out what my role is. I'm not in charge of anybody. I have a control issue. So I can't tell these people what to do. I may not like what they do. They may be 100% wrong. I may be 100% in the right. And I may know it. And my sponsor may tell me it. But guess what? I still have no right to tell them they're wrong. I still have no right to tell them things I told them. Trust me on that. So, what would have happened if I would have did it the way Step 10 says to do it? What would have happened if I would have called my sponsor, did the columns, figured out what was going on, figured out what my role in that situation was, asked God to remove it in 6 and 7 like the book tells you, see if there was an apology to be made and make that apology. That's what Step 10 is about. It's not just, what I thought Step 10 was, continue to take personal inventory when we were wrong, properly admit it. I always skipped over that personal inventory part. I just said, okay, I messed up, I'm sorry. I never looked at my side in anything. I forgot that there's almost 2 parts to Step 10. I have to look what my side is. It's my personal inventory. So I was reading it as I continue to take your inventory. And I was never wrong until you admitted it. That's what I did. So right now in Sober Softball, and I just had my last game 2 Sundays ago, and I'm not going back anymore. I rejoined the team about 2 seasons ago. What's going on now is there's maybe 2 teams, and there's about 15 guys and girls on both teams. So let's say there's 30, hypothetically speaking. There's only about 12 people in the program on those teams. And that's not why it was started. So guess what I did not have to do this time around? I did not have to take to Facebook posts. I did not have to yell at people or throw ice at people on the field. I did not have to say, you guys are doing it wrong. I just said to the coach, hey man, thanks for having me back, but I'm done. This just isn't for me no more. The end. Imagine that. Imagine how easy that was. And Joe and Charlie talk about how quick Step 10 could be worked, but we like to sit in our pain. What if I get disturbed about something, it literally could take me 5 minutes to figure out what's going on here. It's that pause. It's that restraint. And it talks about that in the book. Here's an example of what happened yesterday at school. I haven't shared it with anybody else, so I have to share it. So again, I got joint custody of my son, and I have him until, Thursday morning. So I pick him up he goes to daycare, and then the bus picks him up to school, and then you drop him at daycare and pick him up at 3:30. So I pick him up at 3:30, he's in this big room with dozens of kids running around this, so understaffed, but it's a great daycare. We're very happy with it. And he's there drawing with his crayons, and there's other kids around drawing with their crayons. And I go over to him and say, hey, buddy, how you doing? I see what he's drawing. I went like this to his paper. I said, come on, let's go. On his paper is a big, red, sad face with the number 666. Woo! Yeah. So, what do you think my reaction wanted to be? Not towards my son. What the hell is going on here? Who's working here? Who's watching my son? No, everybody's letting my son do this? Was it this kid? Was it that kid? What's happening here? I said, come on, Ashley. He goes, why'd you take my paper? I said, come on, let's go. I left real nicely. I went to the car. I called the ex-wife. And first I took a picture of the thing. And I sent it to her. She was like, my ex-wife's funny. She's like, oh, hell no. She put it in. So I was like, yeah. So now I can't really get much out of my son, which is, it's weird because when the other parent is on the phone, we get more out of him than we do in person. So she's talking nicely to him. We find out that there's another boy drawing that right next to him in kindercare. So she called kindercare, and she spoke to the people, and the people went over there, and they found the boy with a bunch of papers that said 666 on them. The boy's 6 years old. Okay? So imagine if I did not have self-restraint yesterday. Imagine that. Okay, I got joint custody of my son with a JSO and a military officer. What if I lost my cool up in there and embarrassed that whole place and started screaming and cursing and choke slamming little kids? Now, I never choke slam a kid, but I'm just saying, it goes through my mind. Okay, I used to be a teacher, which thank God I'm not anymore. Jeez, that would have been bad, let me tell you. So it's the growth. It's the constant maintenance. Not the maintenance, but the growing from it, What was happening to me up until about 7-8 months ago was I was just winging it, man. I was maintaining this. With the third ex-wife who left me, she broke my heart. I didn't understand why. I have my answers and I have my freedom now. That's for me to know and close personal friends of mine to know why. Okay? But I was not a good husband in certain senses within that marriage. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. Okay? But when the repeat behavior continues, that is on me. That's not good sobriety for me. Okay? So when she and I would get in an argument, and I would give it a silent treatment for a day or two, repeatedly, say 3 times in like 4 months, that's on me. That's wrong. That's wrong. When we get in an argument and she's yelling, and I'm yelling louder because I can, not 1 time, not 2 times, but repeatedly, that's on me. I was never getting this because, as you guys know, I was not working these steps correctly with my old sponsor. The big book talks about that big shotism in step 10. I experienced that a little bit in my sobriety. That ego came back. My self-will I was taken back. I was trying to run the show in every aspect of my life, with every relationship. And what are alcoholics and addicts terrible with? Relationships. If we're taking our self-will back and not letting God lead us, and we're not in that, it talks about in the big book that sixth sense. That's what step 10 brings us to. That sixth sense of knowing what to do, and the promises of the 10th step, which we'll get to at the end, talk about that too. So now what do? How do I make sure that those actions with my third ex-wife don't occur no more? I got with my sponsor, and we did the step work. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Continue to watch and remember and identify intent. And if I'm wrong, make that amends. So he says, when I used to call and complain about it, she this. No. I want to talk about you. That's what he tells me. I hate him for it. I want him to know. You know what he tells me? You have sponsee brothers to bitch too about that. He probably doesn't use the B word, so don't tell him I told you. But and that's what I do. I complain to my sponsee brothers about it, and I complain to Todd because he's like my best friend about it. But Steve gives me the answers. He gives me the answers. So my answer now is, I need to become the best Jeff I could be for my next relationship and not repeat that behavior. I see. It's been pointing out to me that my defect of character is that I'm an alpha male. I have a control problem, okay? And I don't use the pause very well at all. I don't use self-restraint. It talks about the tongue in the pen and hitting the send button. You know, I might have shared this here a couple of weeks ago about how one of our board members, we're trying to rent a U-Haul, and I sent off this great plan to rent the U-Haul because we're getting brand new floors, which look great, by the way, in the club. And I was like, let's get a big 26-foot U-Haul, $39.99 a night for 4 nights, whatever, $120, which actually came to like $180, but whatever. And, you know, I sent this to all the board members. In less than 10 seconds, one of these board members respond back, well, why can't we just lift up all the stuff and move it to the other side of the room? And when the workers are done, we just move everything to the other side of the room. So I quickly sent back to him, well you know, are you going to come and help? now, I don't know if he read it like that, but this is how I said it when I wrote it. Well, are you going to come to help? But, you know, it still looked like, are you going to come to help? You know, I hope. You know, so he responded back, yeah, I'll be there. In my mind, I'm saying, no, you're not going to be there. So I wrote off this really big 2-paragraph thing. So there's him and 7 board members in this text message, right? And in that text message, it said things like, okay, so that means for the whole weekend, you have to be on call. And you have to be here at the Java Club within 5 minutes when those workers are done. That means I got to tell all 14 guys who live in this halfway house, they can't go nowhere the whole weekend, even though they worked all weekend. Because they have to be on call, so when these workers are done, we're going to move everything over to the other side. You know? I didn't send that text message. I deleted it. Thank goodness I did. That was a win for me. It was a quick loss, but it was a win. Because I'm growing. Because I'm growing. You know, and it's just, you could feel it. It's just, it's not even that you could feel it. We could see it by the way our lives are developing. Todd and I and James were just having a conversation up here in the truck. And I said to them, I said, you know, geez, man, November will be 1 year. So in 11 months, I've lost everything to do with sober softball. I've lost my best friend, Gene, who is the godfather to my son. I've lost a 3rd ex-wife who walked out on me. And now, the other day, I lost another great friend of mine who OD'd, and he was on stage with me when I got married too. Okay? That was about 5 days ago. Friday night. Right? Died. That's 4 pretty big events in my life, right? 4 pretty big events in my life. In 11 months. But I wouldn't change my life for nothing right now. I am in the best place I've ever been in my sobriety right now. I don't have to drink over it. I don't have to drug over it. And here's the difference. I haven't been in a great place. Good things were happening for me the first 4.5 years of sobriety. I did get married again to somebody I fell in love with, truthfully. My son has grown into a great, oh man, he hardly has autism no more. It's fantastic. Job of my dreams, got into recovery at River Region, got promoted, a little bit more money, this, car, you know. But what's the most important thing? My sobriety, how I feel in here, my serenity. And if I don't work step 10, my serenity gets messed up. The most important thing I have is my serenity, my peace of mind. Can you guys remember when we were drinking and drugging and we ran out of money and we ran out of booze and we ran out of drugs? Those next 2 hours, you know what I mean? Pulling the shades, looking outside the shades. You know, yeah, you're seeing a couple of head nods over there. You should talk to Todd about pulling shades. You know, could you remember when you tried to stop by yourself and you made it to like day 2? You know what I mean? Jeez, man. Could you remember when you used to rob from work or cheat on your spouse or have a fist fight at a bar and you couldn't remember who you punched or your friends came to you and said, we're not hanging out no more? I mean, could you remember all these things, being broke on Saturday when you got paid on Friday? And how am I going to get over this? How am I going to do this? It's never going to happen again. Please, God, don't let it happen again. I need to make it a... Could you remember the constant circle, the hamster going around, the racing thoughts? Oh, man, I don't need that in my life no more. And if I don't work step 10, that's what's going to happen. I don't need to drink for that to happen. I don't need to drink for that to happen. This is how I am in my disease. When I'm drinking, if that was like alcohol, and I just took a sip right now, it's, I don't know, it's 7:43. At 7:43, in 10 seconds, I'm going to want more. Okay? And I'm going to start thinking, let's say I did actually have alcohol in here, nobody knows. right? I'm going to be thinking about, okay, I'm going to drop Todd and James back at Java Club probably about 8:35, but I'm going to try and get out of here as quick as possible, not so nobody knows, because, you know, they're going to smell it on my breath. But wait, I got to wear this coffee drop in my pocket, but I'm going to have to pee before the long drive because I'm drinking. When I get back, when I drop them off, I have my son, so I'll put him to bed, and I know ABC Liquor Store is probably still open, but he's sleeping, so I can run out the house, and if they're not open, the Gate gas station is 2 blocks away. I'll ask them what time they're closing, because I don't remember the last time I drank, and they tell me 2 o'clock is the last time they serve beer, so I got to make sure I'm in that store before 2 o'clock to get beer. But by 12 o'clock, I'm drunk, I'm ready to pass out, and I got to be able to stay awake for my son in the morning. And if his JSO mom finds out, I'm going to lose all joint custody. So, I don't know, maybe let me make up an excuse and grab a halfway guy in the house and tell him, listen, there's an emergency with my second ex-wife. I need to go. Can you sit with my kid? And I'm off to Stud's Pub because I know I can talk to the girls, and the girls there are strippers, and I know they got the blow, so I'm going to wind up getting some blow so I don't black out. I'm going to get the blow. I'm going to come back home. I'm going to have enough blow, make sure I have enough liquor in my house for the morning just in case, and then I'm supposed to be in work at 6:15 to chair a 7 a.m. meeting. Oh, I'm calling out sick. This is what happens if I take a drink.
The steps sound easier.
Oh, they sound a little bit easier, right? I got banking on my phone. How many times am I going to hit my password throughout the night to see how much money I have left? Guess what? I'm in recovery. I got 2 credit cards now. I don't even know the passwords. How am I going to see how much money I got left? I kind of ballpark it. I forgot the passwords. I'm lying. I remember the passwords. Step 10. See that? Sorry. Yeah, you know? So, now, if I do something really, really stupid, for example, about 4 months ago, 2 of the board members were talking on the phone. One of the board members is the president. They at the coffee bar. I'm cleaning up because there's no community service. I'm in a bad mood because I'm in my head about my ex-wife who left me, and I hear the president of the club say something about me, and I lost it. You tell him I can't be there. I got my son. Who does he think he is? Purposely saying it loud enough for him to hear. And the other board member saying, calm down, Jeff. Calm down, Jeff. Calm down, Jeff. Oh, I ain't getting calm. I get in my truck and I take off. God, I hated apologizing for that. I mishandled that. But the cool thing is I did go back and we saw what was going on. Okay? My ego got hurt. He thought that I was lying when I wasn't. I want this guy's respect because I like him. You know, I was in fear that he thinks I'm doing a bad job. He's the president of the board of Java Club, and I don't think I'm doing a bad job. If he thinks I'm doing a bad job, maybe he's going to fire me or get with the other board members, talk crap about me, and then is my job in? Is my money in? Because I didn't pause and have self-restraint, as Step 10 talks about. I didn't look back on 4 or 5. God, just take this away. We're all alcoholic. Maybe he's going through something as well. I don't owe him an apology. He doesn't owe me an apology. He didn't know that this other board member had the phone on speaker. Maybe it's his fault. He had it on speaker. I'm going to tell him it's his fault tomorrow. So what am I doing here? You know? And what's happening is, let me go to the 12 and 12 here on page 91. Okay. It says, for step 10, our first objective will be development of self-restraint. I just went over that whole self-restraint. I have an issue with self-restraint. That's been worked on here, and I think I'm doing pretty well with it. Okay? Not verbally coming after anybody. This carries a top priority rating. When we speak or act hastily or rationally, the ability to be fair-minded and tolerant evaporates on the spot. One unkind tirade or one willful snap judgment can ruin our relation with another person for the whole day. Usually it ruins my relationship with me and my relationship with God, or maybe for even a whole year. Nothing pays off like restraint of tongue and pen. Nothing. You know, when we are tempted by this bait, I feel like I'm being baited. Somebody's coming after me. I don't need to respond. I don't. When we are tempted by this bait, we should train ourselves to step back and think. This step 10 is that restraint. Step back. Don't overreact. Don't immediately. We don't have to give anybody that power over us anymore. Okay? Because remember, we're right with God. We're right with ourselves. We're already right with others. We don't want to have to digress from that anymore. Okay? Again, it's progress, not perfection. It's Progress, not perfection. It's going to happen. But we can't be hard on ourselves either. For we neither think nor act to good purpose until the habit of self-restraint has become automatic. And on page 88, what happens with me anyway, is when I don't have self-restraint, I go through what the book talks about, that emotional hangover. Okay? And do you remember when we were hungover, actually hungover, how terrible that was? I mean, if you're anything like me, what wound up happening is I had to have something to drink in the morning to actually function. I couldn't go a couple hours shaken. Oh my goodness, I was just emotionally hungover about what I did. I don't remember what I did. It talks about when a drunk has a terrific hangover. Now, how are they going to call a hangover terrific? I'm telling you, they're playing games with us in this book. Because he drank heavily yesterday, he cannot live well today. But there is another kind of hangover which we all experience whether we are drinking or not. That is the emotional hangover. The direct result of yesterday's and sometimes today's excessive of negative emotion. Anger, fear, jealousy, and the like. You see, it's not talking about anymore us drinking and getting hungover. It's talking about how our defects of character are causing this emotional hangover, which is equal to when we drank and drugged the next day in the first place. You know, I don't have a drinking problem, I have a thinking problem. My thinking is going to get me drunk. And if I don't deal with my thinking and my emotions and my defects and my shortcomings and my wrongs, I'm going to wind up drinking at some point. It's going to happen. We've seen it happen. But what's that saying about meeting makers? Meeting makers make it, you don't know about, I don't know. Help me out a little bit. How's that go? Yeah, I'm lost too. I don't know. Maybe I'll think about it later. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
It's not the meetings you make, it's the steps you take.
That's it, but it's not. That was a nice way, wasn't it?
What happens to people that don't?
Oh, yeah. People who don't go to meetings don't know what happens to people who don't go to meetings. I mean, think about it for a second.
Yeah.
You know, if I don't go to meetings, I don't know how people are handling regular, everyday life. My wife yelled at me, I ain't going to a meeting, I'm going to sit home, I'll put that TV on extra loud. You know what I mean? If I go to a meeting, maybe I'll hear somebody share about what they did. I don't know, work the steps, call sponsor, you know? So, you know, we got the self-restraint, we got the emotional hangovers. The directions in the big book are telling us how we go about it. It's not just how I did it, you know, I was wrong, so let me say I'm sorry. Okay? There's also another part. Continue to take my personal inventory. Again, it's we already have God in 1, 2, and 3, right? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Hopefully 8 and 9 don't have to happen. You know? And I got to continue watching for those defects. And if I do this, like I said, I'm going to start growing and it's going to become easier. You know, like anything, I'm a right-handed basketball player. You guys know I was a basketball player. All right? How do I get better at my left hand? Practice, 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 practice. Jedi mind trick. Good brainwashing. You know, if I continue to get on my knees and pray every night, I may forget for the first couple, you know, maybe I'll do it when I first come in here, maybe I'll do it on a Monday, forget Tuesday, Wednesday. I get on my knees Thursday, that's 2 days a week. Okay, I'm good with that. Maybe I'll try 3 days. Sooner or later, I'm going to be on my knees every single night. And I am now. I have to do a better job in the morning. Sorry, I'm a nicotine fiend. I'm trying to quit. But, you know, I get up, give me a cigarette. You know, and I go into my own thing outside. And, you know, if it pops up, I got to tend to it immediately. And Joe and Charlie talk about that. Why am I going to sit in it? Why don't I just tend to it immediately? Because I like pain. I like to suffer. I like to cause pain. I like to cause suffering. But that's not the way I live no more. I'm supposed to be having this spiritual awakening. I'm supposed to be getting in touch with the sixth sense. I'm supposed to be in the sunlight of the Spirit, as our book talks about. You know, what kind of example am I going to be to the newcomer if I'm continuing to act in a certain way and I'm not correcting it and I'm not identifying it? That's a poor example of Alcoholics Anonymous, a person in Alcoholics Anonymous. And, you know, I had good qualities and I had bad qualities. And the problem was, the good qualities seemed to be getting good because I was working on them. The bad qualities would get worse because I wasn't working on them. And there's no middle ground here. The middle ground is the maintaining part. And that's what was happening. I was here. I need to continue going this way for the rest of my life. One little thing One little thing, like one little drop of alcohol, one little pill, one little bump will destroy me on the inside. You know? It doesn't take 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. It's that first one every time. It's that first drink. It's that first argument. It's that first resentment. It's that first fear that crops up. I need to tend to it all the time. All the time. You know? And let's go to our favorite page in every single book ever created for Alcoholics Anonymous. It is a spiritual axiom, and every time we are disturbed, no matter what the cause, there is something wrong with us. You're kidding me. Not only that, they put with us in that squiggly writing stuff. Okay, I get it. You know what I mean? But that's always the case. And here's the thing. Remember what I said? Maybe they're 100% wrong and I'm 100% right. And I know this. My sponsor knows it. People I'm close with knows it. I don't got to tell them they're wrong. And what's my role? It's bothering me. That's it. That's my role. How about I just not let it bother me? God, please remove this defect of, I don't know, selfishness or whatever. How about I pray for them? The bottom of 66, top of 67. Go look that page up at the end. Yeah, you know, that's always an answer there. Maybe I can follow some directions that are in the book that I talked about. You know, on page 91 in the second paragraph, in all these situations we need, there's the word again, self-restraint, honest analysis of what is involved, a willingness to admit when the fault is ours, and an equal willingness to forgive when the fault is elsewhere. I do something wrong, I want you to forgive me. I really, really do. I feel terrible if you don't forgive me. So when somebody does something wrong to me, I better start learning how to forgive people. And we'll get into that with the St. Francis prayer next week. Oh my goodness. What kind of hypocrite am I? I stepped on your shoe. I'm sorry, Todd. You step on my shoe. Yo, these new Nikes. What's wrong with you? No, that ain't right. It's not right at all. You know, on page 92, it says, finally, what happens here, finally, is we begin to see that all people, including ourselves, are to some extent emotionally ill as well as frequently wrong. Now, I wasn't going to read it, but remember what I just said there. Not all people, right? So here's the bottom of 66. This was our cause. We realized that people who wronged us were perhaps spiritually sick. At this point in my sobriety, step 10, I should be spiritually growing. Now, I'm going to fall back into that sickness, but am I going to work step 10, which is a combination of basically 4 through 9, because I have God in 1, 2, and 3 already. And if I don't, I'm pushing God away, so I lose 1, 2, and 3. I'm back to square one. And I've been there in sobriety. It's not a fun place to be with. So whenever we fail any of these people, we can promptly admit it, right? Not only to ourselves always, and to them also. And when the admission would only be helpful. Courtesy, kindness, justice, and love are the keynotes by which we may come into harmony with practically anybody. When in doubt, we can always pause. There it is. Pause. Not my will, but thine be done. What does that sound like? Third step prayer. It's telling me, reminding me, I'm not in charge no more. I've got a new employer, man. It's not my will no more. I can't take this self-restraint. I have to have self-restraint. I can't take that self-will back and continue to hurt people. You know? Am I doing to others as I would have them do to me? Again, you know, if I do something to you, please forgive me. But if you do something for me, am I going to forgive you or not? Am I? You know, it's just, it's a terrible cycle. You know, we step on the feet of each other and we retaliate and we forget that there are steps for an answer to every single life problem. Steve V, he says it. He says, you know, the quickest way to get drunk is to get sober. You know, because we're left with ourselves, which was the problem in the first place. But the answers are on the board. There's 12 steps there. But there is an outline of how to work them in our literature. We can't just not work them. And I'll end with this. It's my favorite promises in the book. A lot of our promises. We read them at the beginning of our men's meeting on Monday. It's just amazing. And you know, it talks about the alcohol part, but I like to think of it not only as the alcohol part now, but I like to think of it as the emotional part, as my character defect part, about how I'm living my life part. And we have ceased fighting anything or anyone. You know, even alcohol. So it tells you to eat anything or anyone. I shouldn't be in combat with anyone anymore. I have that sunlight of spirit. I'm supposed to be walking in God's grace right now, my higher power. For by this time sanity will have returned. Came to believe that validating ourselves could restore us to sanity. The sanity should be there. It should be there. We will seldom be interested in liquor, or I'll throw in, or hurting people. I don't want to hurt any people anymore. I used to enjoy it, you know. If tempted, we recoil from it from a hot flame. I recoil from liquor. I try to recoil from hurting anybody anymore. I hate that, and I don't want to apologize. How many people have I hurt in my life? We react sanely and normally, and we will find that this has happened automatically. This happened to me automatically last night with these cops. It's amazing. Oh man, what a great feeling it is to wake up and not owe them an apology or be looking at my windows. Are they still out there? Are they mad at me? Did they get in touch with my ex-wife? Oh man, the things that could have went in my head. Will we see that our new attitude towards liquor has been given to us without any thought or effort on our part? It just comes with an exclamation point. That is the miracle of it. We are not fighting it, nor are we avoiding temptation. We feel as though we have been placed in a position of neutrality, safe and protected. My serenity feels good. My peace of mind feels good. If I'm doing this correctly, we have not even sworn off. Instead, the problem has been removed. Not only the problem of alcohol and drugs, but the problem of me battling me inside, which in turn turns me into a monster to battle everybody else around me. We are neither cocky nor we are afraid. That is our experience. That is how we react. How? Again, so long as we keep in that fit spiritual condition, God is my employer. Step 10 is a combination of steps 4 through 9, remembering that 1 through 3 I'm right with God. And if I'm working step 10 correctly, I'm combining all of that and I'm looking at what my role is, not yours. So we got 2 weeks left, and next week is step 11. Thank you so much, guys.